coming back in, doing some illustration. Got another Malala video for beautiful Malala. Who's this dashing man standing next to her? That is Hyde. This is one of the many looks of Hyde, for sure. Classy, dashing, professional, our bodyguard, mascot style we aspire towards. Baller. And we're learning in-depth anatomy, spending a little bit longer doing some in-depth studies, which is always helpful, doing some 5-10 minute studies, and then going back to the single minute and the 30-second anatomy studies. After having mapped and then broken down the map into an architectural skeleton of geometries that represent all the forms, but also looking at how the muscles take on unique shapes depending on the movement and the balance and the pose. It's more than that geometric architecture. Even models from games can capture. Models in new games are starting to mold and shift and become more dynamic, like a living, moving figure. And we're going to come in and just do some detail shading, some stylish detail shading on this lovely anatomical figure. We've got a reference. We'll throw a reference in the description for the figure, but we're going to just kind of remix and freestyle all of the shading on our own with the base shading. It's not very shaded at all in the starting image, but the balance and the articulation and the posture is really great. Totally added into the figure drawing and anatomy. And getting into this, we've done a lot of thumbnailing last season and into this season, but the art of breaking your thumbnail, now a piece of design, into a more finished illustration. And you definitely don't want to have that sophisticated of a grasp of anatomy in the thumbnailing process. You want to have just those base points so that you can build bold and dynamic shapes on top of that figure without worrying about so many changes in direction. And then you want to grasp a fully sophisticated anatomy as you bring that thumbnail to life, that dynamic, bold silhouette, that movement, that action, and what makes the design unique from that point. It's cool if your design can read from like really far away, and then you can go into very detailed studies, things like a tattoo on the hands or a very complex, sophisticated glove. Many different character, modalities, different pieces of design can come to life in the detailing process as well. And they're entirely complementary. And we're also thinking about art style type of things, where sometimes you have a project and the art style is like Persona or Naruto or something, where you're not aiming for complete realism with your stylization and your characters. So how we bring anatomy and like a fully sophisticated anatomy to that level of cartooning, to that level of not just simplifying but combining shapes together, making some shapes even more stand out, more dynamic. Other shapes do become more just easy to remember, and that extra time and energy that's saved by having a little bit simpler form, think Avatar: The Last Airbender here, can be used on having dynamic expressions, drawing the form quickly so you can have movement in story, and having really bold dynamic action like Naruto, like Akira Toriyama, through the utility of having a cartoon medium, unlocks certain doors and possibilities, potentials you might not otherwise find. And it's fun to take ideas for stories and characters from one medium, one dimension to another. if you had a story like Dragon Ball Z that really popped off because of its art style, because of its mix of comedy and action, and really, bold, dynamic world building and storytelling, where he's like talking to the gods and the deities and exploring the mythology of this world while having just, episodic character moments and adventures that explore who is this hero? Who is this hero? With the things that Dragon Ball Z accomplished, you could like go back and be like, what about a Final Fantasy type Dragon Ball Z story? Where it's like the world saviors, there's like aliens coming in, there is a world mythology, but maybe we don't know it all at the start. There's very different heroes that come together and make a powerful team, an elemental team together. There's other dimensions, like the dimension of spirit. And the way that they pulled that early on in Dragon Ball Z with Goku's death and then resurrection as he has to fight his way through the spirit world and has to train with the spirit master before alien invasion hits the earth. And I remember being a kid and being like, there is nothing like this story. There's pieces of it. We all know characters that take on challenges, that rise to the occasion, that fight bad guys, that gain abilities. But the ability gaining, bad guy fighting, adventure having was very choice and unique, and you never knew what was going to happen next. Nowadays, it can seem quite predictable. Like, it falls into anime fashion in all of these ways. Having stylish shading is something that I really love. You can find some anatomies that are very stylishly done. We're trying to capture bounced and reflective light. I'm sure that you can see that we're trying to capture that. Not 100% accurately maybe, but doing a pretty good job. I love this pose. I love the way that they're leaving some things rough and unfinished. We're still going to try and leave some of these pieces of design rough and unfinished. Yeah, as you may in your storytelling, perchance. Watching Dragon Ball Z as a kid was totally awesome. It reminded me of so many action movies that I watched as a kid, but this mythology felt like it was mine. Like I had ownership to it. All of the, Star Wars, Jackie Chan, martial arts movies, action movies, Arnold Schwarzenegger movies felt like they were from a different world, a legacy world, the world that we're going to inherit. But taking on new stories can make it feel like you are taking on a world that is entirely your own and bringing that into the world that we share and inherit. Very, very cool. Yeah, you never knew what was going to happen. And just the build-ups and like, oh, this guy's super powerful. He's beaten all of his friends and he's got to reach another level of power. Those drops, there's just very stereotypically anime drops of like reaching a new threshold of abilities and like the turnaround in a fight after for several episodes and just a very long time you've found the villain to be dominating, and then a hero takes charge and breaks that threshold and brings that to play. Very, very fun. Yeah, the excitement in those Dragon Ball Z levels are really cool. Then as you use cartooning and stylized storytelling to break new ground, to think with that ground that we've broken, can you take that to a more traditional medium and find some of the things that are winning there, and then with that story concept to explore it and make it unique, because that is what is so fun about Dragon Ball Z. One of those things, and Final Fantasy, is the uniqueness. If you're trying to emulate and gain inspiration for some of the things that they've done, you'd want to try also then to make it unique and signature. Like if you start there, that's fine with remixing Final Fantasy or Dragon Ball Z. But after you've broken the story in a little bit, try and, let it grow and take on a life of its own. And, combine together many elements from many sources in unexpected and organic, intuitive ways. Just try and bring your intuition into it and to watch the story and the world of the story blossom. Okay, we'll try and do this one really quickly. Yeah, stylish shading is very fun. And letting the shadows kind of take on a life of their own. Something that we try to do. Letting there be like layers of shadows. Trying to capture bounce lighting and like core shadows. Core shadows, your hardest shadow that like, you know, like mirrors the edge of the bounce lighting. So it's like some glowing bounce lighting and then a core shadow that like parallels all of your shapes. It kind of outlines them again and brings them all to life. If you do it all consistently, that kind of dynamic bounce lighting and core shadows looks awesome. Take a minute to just make this look perfect in my head. And knowing that we can go back, I always like say this, and rarely, I haven't done it yet, but like I can trim the videos shorter if we want to. So we really exist in a free, no chance of failure space here, which always makes me feel good. If you should always feel like, you know, even if you don't want to fail, it's okay if you do. You should be okay to experiment. Sometimes, obviously, if you're going to do a very professional demonstration of your abilities or your business plan to potential investors, and they're not kids, they don't need to learn nothing, but you still want to keep that fun. I think if you want to have a fun business and that's a part of it, you do want to be genuine and to bring your personality into it. No doubt about that. Okay, this one's already pretty kick-ass. Like there. Nice. There we go. Nice bounce lighting there. That's a great demonstration of bounce lighting. Oh, here too. Good. Really good. Yo, using 5mm lead. It's always like, you cannot press too hard. It's very easy to press too hard. Alright, that's not all we'll do. But maybe it's all for now. I don't want to run out of space here. But it's fine if we do. Go back in. And then after doing this for a while, when you go back to speed sketching, moving very quickly, feels wonderful. Feels great to be back in the zone after you've spent some time detailing. Maybe like a couple hours. Forward to taking on more character illustration series from our icons and heroes. Yeah, Malala there right next to Hyde. Find what is your signature heroes and put them together in ways. I'm sure we could do a fun story with characters based on Hyde and Malala. They meet in an airport somewhere. They're going completely different places, and then there's an event, you know, like a zombie outbreak or something, and they have to support each other and find abilities that they didn't know they even have. and they both gain layers of depth. And, you know, think about them just having like a conversation, like around a campfire, their cowboy speech of like their dreams of the future and what they fight for. Come on, it'd be totally cool. And finding ways that they could relate, like music is a way that you can encourage people, to inspire people. Education is a way to inspire people as well. And like anime and stories, you know, I'm sure Malala is inspired by heroes and stories as well. And even though their heroes and stories are different, Hyde wanted to be a mangaka. And, you know, anime, to think of whatever the heroes from Malala's stories were, as they both take up the heroic mantle to survive the zombie apocalypse together. It doesn't have to be a zombie apocalypse. It could be a superhero story, and they both get superpowers from the same event. Or they could get transported to an alternate timeline and have to fight dinosaurs and survive. Like Ark. It doesn't have to be Hyde and Malala, and we're thinking of education, and I spent some time just dreaming of those plans, and also thinking about what we've developed with AI, what we've developed before AI, the time that I've spent, what has my personal motivations been, looking at different types of education modules. When you see one that is very effective, and you see how, like, reading and learning about Finland's education model after a lifetime of like homeschooling, and homeschooling semi-effectively, and seeing clearly that there were ways that the education system was run, you know, there was ways that they were beating us, but there's other parts of homeschooling and independent education that you couldn't beat hardly, and ways that you could integrate and find both sides to that equation and use the strengths of both worlds. And like Finland, and, you know, How School Can Kill Your Creativity, and The Art of Learning by Josh Waitzkin, and that personal skill building journey. And I feel like whoever you are, you should want to personally skill build your passion. You don't have to know what it is immediately, and it could be anything. And to have the dream of that. And The Art of Learning is just so useful for that. It's so incredibly useful. All right, really nice. Here. Oh my gosh. Yeah, maybe. This was a bit. Could have been a better angle, maybe. Or lighting. It's not bad though. This is a very chilled and relaxed bit of drawing, which is fun as well. And just imagining what the world would be like, the best education ever available to all, and a system to like put our ideas together, get everyone on the same team, on the same page, bringing their unique imagination and intelligence to the forefront and leveling up those abilities to the highest. Because then your ideas, your inspiration, what makes you you, is still going to be yours. You know, you'll just have more tools to be more yourself and get more into your dreams. But that's it. That's all I'm gonna say for now. We'll come back at it for sure. Yeah, having those like core shadows, and then you like erase in the middle of it, so it's kind of like soft glowing. It's not really realistic, but very cool looking. It could be realistic if there was bounced glowing light in exactly the right angle. We'll do this for just a sec and get off here. Be sending love and light to everyone out there, everyone going through it, everyone post it up, you know? You don't have to be like in the struggle to be struggling, you know? Anyone out there, you know, like fighting your way through your mind to your inspired state, even if you're in like a place of abundance and security. If you're still going through it, it's like, you know, give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Dealing with mental struggles is just as real as physical struggles, you know? And wanting to live and feeling joy is something that we should all aspire towards. And you have my blessing in that journey and attaining that. Really nice. All right. Butt's not shiny enough. Kidding. It's a plenty shiny butt. Now, watching Ahmed Aldoori's shapes and the shading of different shapes and just like toning with graphite and shading of shapes is like the best drawing video. Yo, the best foundational drawing video with pencil and traditional medium, at least. All right, we'll leave it there. Sending you my love and light. Yeah. All right. Peace and love.